Hey folks, Chad here at Apsona. Sometimes folks ask if there's a way to know um, all of the places that a specific field is referenced in Apsona. Similar to if you're an admin and you're looking in the setup area and you look at a field, custom fields have the ability to say, where is this field used? And it gives a list of all the references to that field in the system. People are wondering if there's an equivalent to that in Apsona. And while there's not really a built-in UI method of, clicking a box and having the system bring to you all the references, there is a way to do this. So that's what we're going to explore today. It's pretty simple, and I'm even going to leave you with a downloadable file that you can use as a starting point. So I'm going to do a little bit of background first to kind of teach you a little bit of the foundational aspect of Apsona, and then we're going to dive in. So first off, what I want to do is go to settings, and I'm going to go to Apsona items. And this is kind of the foundation that I just wanted to talk about. Everything in Apsona is saved as a record, and it's saved as an Apsona item object. So everything, filters, reports, report folders, configurations, merge actions, everything is an Apsona item. So if you just simply go to Apsona items from your settings menu and you have no filters whatsoever, you're going to see how many saved records there are for all the things that you do in Apsona. So in our developer org here, we have over 2,000 different records. You can see that there's a name to them. The item type is, whether it's a filter, report, etc. And then there's other data. If you open up one of these, so I'll just kind of go to this first one and I'm going to click this edit JSON button. Actually, no, I'm going to go straight to the record in Salesforce. I think that's a little bit easier to kind of talk about the way that I want to talk about it. Here's the record. So this is just a Salesforce record like any other record, but it's an Apsona item. And the thing that I wanted to point out is that there are some fields that kind of help to identify what it is. We've got our name and, or sorry, the object it's on, the type, the name. But the real important field here is content. So every Apsona item uses content as the kind of holder of all the code for that item. And this is what Apsona reads to know what it's doing for that particular function. So this is a filter, and this is the description of the filter in JSON, which is the language that Apsona needs to read. But you can see that there are references to fields in here, and this is kind of where we're going to discover the ability to find references to specific fields. So this content field is what we're going to focus on. So that's looking at a record. We're just going to close that out. The other way that you can look at this is by clicking Edit JSON. And this kind of just zooms in on that content field and shows it in a way where it's kind of like formatted a little bit easier. And you can technically edit this. You only want to do this if you feel very confident in what you're doing, but this is editable. So the trick, I think, is basically looking at that content field across multiple records. And while there is technically an export items option here where it will export all of these, it doesn't export it in like a CSV as you would kind of think. It exports it as a DAT file, a .dat file. And this is specifically meant to pull everything from one instance or one environment, let's say a sandbox, out of Salesforce and then stick it all back in through this import items feature into another environment so that you could basically transfer Apsona from one environment to another. That's what these are designed for, but that's not what we're doing today. I just wanted to explain the fact that although it looks like this is an export option to get all this data out of Salesforce, that's not exactly what we're looking for. So what we're going to do is actually build a report. If you go to the More option here and look for Apsona items, you'll most likely see Apsona items as an object, just like anything else. So rather than go to Apsona items through settings, which is what we just did, we're going to go there just like any other object, and we're going to go to reports. Now, if you don't see this either in your menu bar here or behind the More option, that always means that this object is not set as a visible object in Apsona for your user or your configuration to be more precise. So you can always double check that. You do have to be an admin to do this, but if you go to settings and go to configurations and then find the configuration with the red star, which always means that that's yours, click on it, hit edit. This is where you can find out if Apsona items is set up as a visible object or is not yet visible to you in Apsona. So if I look over here, I'm going to see it because I've added it already. Whoops, I think it's single. There we go. But if you haven't added it yet, then it would show up on this side, and you would just find it and you drag it over, and then you'll have it. So we've already got it. We're going to go back to the reports for it. And I have a pre-built report that I will show you really quick, but this is the downloadable item that will be in the description so that you can download this and try it out yourself. So I think first I'm just going to edit. We are on the Apsona item object. Here's all the fields. There are many different fields that seem important, but for our purpose, we really just need content. So we have a bunch of checkboxes. We've got a bunch of contents. We've got date fields, a bunch of different stuff. Don't worry about those. The fields that I've got on here, I think are the ones that you would really need to properly assess where a field is being referenced in Apsona. So we have our content field. Our record ID is going to be used to kind of take a look at the records independently. This tells us whether it's a filter, a report, etc. This is the object, this is the name, and this is description, just in case there's something helpful there. The other thing that I've added here is a bit of a filter. There are some Apsona items that just don't have content filled in. There's no fields referenced, so there's no point in including them. So multi-step report folders, single-step report folders, and this metadata description. These are things we just don't need to have in the report, so I've excluded those. Let's go ahead and run it. And you can basically just use this report while it's in Apsona to do your work. So for example, let's say that I wanted to identify where the campaign member lookup field to the contact is referenced. So just as an example of what I'm talking about, if we were to go to a campaign member field, we'll just go to a campaign real quick and see if actually I might waste time doing this. I think I'm not going to go down that road, but if you go to a campaign member record, of course, you're going to see a lookup field to the campaign and a lookup field to the contact. And the contact lookup field is called contact. So we are going to type in some characters to find that. Now it's helpful if you know the API name, which is like the behind the scenes system name for a field. That helps, but it's not 100% required. What I do know is that the API name for that, when you include the object, is going to be campaign member, no spaces, dot contact ID. I just know that from experience. If you don't know that, you could just type in contact because that's the name of the field, but that might give you too much results. So that's why it's kind of helpful to kind of know the real specifics of what a field is. And you can see that Apsona has found it already. We're on row 45. There's probably a bunch of references. 53, 88. Cool. So that field is being referenced in a variety of places. I can't make this row wider to see all the contents, so I have record ID right next door. And if you just click on that, it's going to take you to the record as it is in Salesforce, just like we did prior. And now I can look through this and find it, but I can also just do a Control F, type in campaignmember.contact, and there it is. So now I know this filter, yep, that's a filter, on the opportunity contact role object is referencing the campaign member lookup field to contact. And then if I kind of take that to the end, what I could do is let's go back to Apsona in another tab here. I could go to that filter. So it's on the opportunity contact role object and it's a filter. So let's just try to go there. See if we get opportunity contact role right here. We'll just go to tabular view. And filters are saved in the tools menu. So we're going to go to tools, filters, and I didn't catch the name of it. So OCR in Gala filter. There it is. So now I go there and, oh, interesting. So this is a reference to a different filter. Contact ID is in filter 2024 Gala. So this is what we call a nested filter. This is one filter that's referencing a different filter. So I'm going to follow this breadcrumb and go to the contact object, look in its filters, and look for 2024 Gala. So now let's go to contacts, go to filters, 2024 Gala, and there it is. Yep, the campaign member is among 2024 Gala. So this is basically saying that the contacts that will show up in this filter must have a campaign member record that is looking at this campaign. So this, by doing this filter, it has to reference the campaign member contact lookup field in order to connect the contacts to their campaign members. And that's why it's referenced in the filter. and that's why it shows up in the content field. Let's see. Let's try. I don't want to try a field that's too widely used, but I think I'm just going to because I don't have anything else in my brain here. So I'm going to do opportunity dot amount, and it's going to be all over the place. There's probably hundreds of references. So let's see. We have a merge action. So let's go to that merge action. This is going to be a little bit more complex. Oh, maybe not. It looks still fairly simple. So if I do amount, I'll easily see it. So it's referencing opportunity.amount here. That's a different reference to a different field. But anyway, so that's one quick way to use this report and kind of identify where a field is being used. You could also take this report and then export it. So we can export this to a CSV, pull it out in Excel, and now you have a little bit more, control about how things are ordered and how they lay out. So I can take this and maybe I will make it wrap so that I can look at the whole contents. Maybe I can order this by um, entity name. So let's order it by the object. So entity name, okay. Now I know that if I kind of go down here and look for opportunity. Um, I'm surprised that I'm not seeing that there, so maybe I'm just searching wrong. But I guess my point is you can go to an object and, oh, sorry, I was looking in the wrong place. I wanted to go to entity type here. So now if I type in opportunity, I should get there. Okay, so now all the opportunity object related Apsona items are together. And that could be helpful as you're searching for maybe an opportunity field. You might want to start here and just kind of start going through. I think that's it. I just wanted to give you that tip. It's a bit of a hack. It's not necessarily a nice clean button, but it does get the job done and it helps us to identify where fields are referenced in Apsona. I'll say one more thing if you want to stick around, which is kind of how to understand API names. If you feel comfortable with that, you can stop now, but why don't I spend a couple more minutes talking about that if you're new to that concept. Um, I think what I'll do here is I'm going to go to setup. And if you're not an admin and don't have access to setup, you're going to struggle a little bit to kind of identify API names, but you can grab an admin that can and help you out. So API name is basically the system name for a field or other pieces of Salesforce. But in our context, it's fields. And the label is the thing that you see on screen when you're looking at a record. The API name is kind of the system version of that field name. So I could look up account soft credit with all the spaces and all that, and that will show up as well in these reports because what we do see is that it does talk about labels. Let's see if I type in label. Let's try to find a different example here. Um, I think maybe if we go to a report, uh, multi-step report, let's try this. If I pop this one out and I look at the content, I'm going to type in label. So you can see that it shows the label of fields and it shows the API name of fields. Let's see if I can get a good example here. Well, I might be a little bit wrong. I thought that it had the nice clean. Oh, here we go. I think I'm just reading it wrong. So name is the label. Account name is the kind of API name, I think. Anyway, I think I'm taking us on a bit of a rabbit trail. Let me get back to the main message here. So it's good to know the API name because I think the more specific of a search term that you have, the more specific your results are going to be. You're not going to get false positives. If I just type in opportunity, I'm going to get all kinds of stuff. But if I type in opportunity dot whatever, then it's going to only find the things that I'm specifically looking for. So you want to go to setup, you want to go to object manager, and then you want to just, pick the object that you want to look into. So these are the API names of the objects. If I go to, let's say, opportunity, and I go into the object and I go to fields and relationships, now I'm going to see all the fields themselves. So account name, the API name is account ID, amount is amount, and you can go down here. So this is one way to get very specific on what your search term should be as you're looking through your records if you're not familiar with the API name of the field that you're trying to look up. All right, I think that does it. Thanks for your time and good luck. Bye-bye.